excited.
I'm so excited.
It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielsen, Matt Kassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
Two Mats and a Goalie edition of Two Guys and a Goalie here on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Tune in iHeartRadio as well as those watching on YouTube. Matt Iwanyk, Joaquin Gage live in the studios on the West End. Matt Kassian at his work office, I'm assuming. That's where he is. Yes.
Yeah, that's where I am. And we're getting closer every day to having a new studio here. So it'll be like instead of my actual office, of getting an actual studio, which would be nice.
Nice.
Are you gonna paint the artwork like in that one too?
No. This one I drew that when I was 3. So.
Have you ever been to
Prodigy?
Did you take the girls to? It was called. What was it called? 3 Cats. 3 Cats Studio.
No.
It was okay. Maybe it's gone now, but it was one of those places when my kids were younger where they would just do their own paintings and stuff. But then they got a huge canvas and they all got paintbrushes and did like a Jackson Pollock where they would like just throw the paint against it. I still have it. I think it looks great, but it's massive.
Pretty cool.
It's really cool. So my son's like whatever 6th birthday, I have this huge canvas with all his 6-year-old friends that made this kind of, a 6-year-old Jackson Pollock, which looks pretty good.
4 Cats in St. Albert?
4 Cats.
St.
Yeah.
Albert?
So they used to be all over. So it's in St. Albert, Cass. 4 Cats. Take the daughters there.
Yeah,
they're all over.
That'd be fun. They would have fun. They're actually, my girls are all really artistically inclined, and I'm not at all. Like my oldest probably is already better, markedly so, at drawing than I am. Like, I can't stay inside the lines, sort of thing. Like I just can't. I'm not creative that way, not wired that way. But they are, so they would absolutely love it. So yeah, good idea.
You're welcome.
Got to ask you, Cass. We were talking about on the Hangout today, reality shows. Do you watch any reality shows? Are you a reality show TV guy? Do you have any that you watch?
Some.
Okay.
Not. I wouldn't say not a million of them. I really like The Mole on Netflix. Those two are good. They're kind of trying to figure out what's going on, who's sabotaging, and that one I kind of liked. What other reality ones have we watched recently? Because again, there's not very many. The Mole would have been the most recent. We tried watching Survivor again, and that is just like no. My wife tried to make me watch that one where people sit in boxes and try to have a real relationship. What is that called?
Blind something.
Yeah. Love is Blind.
Love is Blind.
Yeah. She tried to make me watch some of that one, and it was just like, no. So outside of that, I don't know if there's really anything. So The Mole would have been the most recent. I really like documentaries. Like I really like those, probably more than reality TV.
I just didn't think you were a guy that watched any, so I'm actually surprised a little bit right now.
It's funny.
I thought they'd be too good for you. Or you're too good for them, I should say. You're too good for them.
No. The Mole was really good. Like game show ones I like. I like the game show type of things. The one, and we haven't watched it now in a couple years, but we did for a while, which would have been the only one, and we'll call it that guilty pleasure. Knowing that it was horrible at the same time it was called Married at First Sight.
Oh, God.
So
kind of remember that one.
Yeah, so I think it's still going. But basically, it's like you have professional matchmakers and psychologists, and these people like pair people together to get married, and the first time they see each other is at the altar. And some of it is like, you know, and the hard thing is like, there's some of it, you know, they're actually trying, like they tried to set up two people that they think is going to work. And some of it, you wonder if like, they just set these two people up just for the drama because they know that it's going to blow up and it's going to be bad. And which is horrible because you're like, these people are going on the show to want to try to actually do this thing. Mostly, some of them probably just want to get famous. But anyways, that was one we watched quite a bit. So
it is still going on.
Not in a couple of years though.
No, it is still going on. As of August of 2023, only 11 couples married over the 17 seasons remain for a success rate of 17%, which actually I would say is pretty high for this. There's still one couple from season 1 that is still married.
Wow.
They then went through a stretch where everyone got divorced, but then season 5, someone's still together. Season 6, someone's still together. 7, 8, 9, 10, there's people still together. Actually, not until season 13 did they go through a stretch where everyone got divorced. This is fascinating. I never heard of this show.
That's funny, Cass, that you mentioned Love is Blind because my daughter was watching it one night. It's on Netflix, I think, and I was kind of watching it, and the guy, you know, they do the introduction. It was the new season, and the guy was a financial advisor, and so it kind of piqued my interest, and I saw it. And he went in and he went in with his paper.
One of the ones that I saw.
Oh, and he was giving them, like, he was asking them the same thing I would do, like the questions I would ask in a financial advice first meeting. And I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. He's making us look bad.
Oh my God. I struggled with that one because there's so many with those things where it's just hard to watch, where you're just like, this person, you know, they're just, I mean, people in the shows will go like, oh, you're here for the right reasons. Yeah, I'm here for the right reasons. Are you here for the right reasons? But it's just like, you know, so many people, like, they just want their name out there. They just want their face out there. And they just want people to see them as being cool and good and whatever. And it's just like, the reason she wanted to watch that Love is Blind is one of her old students was on it.
No.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Yeah. So a girl that she taught was on it. And we figured out pretty quick that she was pretty regulated, I'll call it, where it's like you kind of saw her in the background, but it never focused on her, which is where I was just like, well, if I don't kind of have a connection to somebody on this show, I'm not watching it. So that was it for me. But
so it didn't suck you in and you become a major fan of it moving forward.
And some of the people just make me too mad. Like I get too upset. I'm like, this person's an idiot. Like, what are they doing?
I'll tell you off air who this was, but I don't know if I've told this story. But I had a friend who was seeing a girl that was on The Bachelor years ago. Like, and she was home from it. She was already on it. The season was playing, and so they were kind of seeing. And he was trying to, pursue the relationship, I guess. After one night, thought it would be a really good idea after a few drinks to go and bang on her window to see if she's home, and kind of realized at a certain point that this wasn't a great idea. Went home, got a call from the girl, and said, can you get over here? There's some weird guy banging on my window right now. I'm really scared. And then he's like, "Oh, that was me."
Oh, he admitted it.
Yeah, and not right away.
Oh, you could have played the hero there.
Yeah.
I'm on my way, babe.
Yeah, that's what. And he felt guilty. And then she said, "Yeah, I think we're done."
Yeah, yeah.
So he blew up his chance for the Bachelorette, so to speak.
So this was already after she.
Did I ever tell you guys?
This was at the show was still playing. So
they're sworn to
they're sworn to secrecy, right? At that
right,
point.
But also I don't think you're pursuing another relationship if you were. But
it was still
guy.
On the fence,
okay.
So who knew? Whatever.
Yeah. Did I ever tell you guys? I don't know if I ever told this on here. That my wife was supposed to be on The Bachelor.
Really?
No. Have I ever told that story?
No.
Nope. No. That was right when we started dating, when I was down in Houston, and I wasn't there that long. So fortunately, the relationship held up while we were long distance, and she was getting calls. She was getting calls from ABC every 2 weeks to go on the show. So her volleyball girls. This would have been before we got introduced. Her volleyball girls, without telling her, all submitted an application for her to be on the show, like that she coached. And so they eventually told her that they submitted that. And one day she got a call on her phone, and it was actually the first one was when I was with her, and it was from ABC Studios on her phone. And so she let it go to voicemail, and checked the voicemail. So I was sitting there when this happened, and it was we're the producers of the Bachelor on ABC, and we really like to have you come in for an interview on this next season to see if you would be a ideal contestant or participant, whatever. And so she never called them back. Week goes by, they call again. Another week, she doesn't pick up. Let's go to voicemail. Same thing. Another 2 or 3 weeks goes by. They skipped her through the interview process, and they just straight out asked her. They're like, "We want you to come on the show," and she never called back to them. I was telling her the whole time, I'm like, "You should do it. You should go on the show. You need to do it." And I was telling her, I'm like, "You need to do it because it'll be the most infamous, amazing thing ever. Is you get out of the limo, you look at the guy, and you go, "Heh," and turn around and get back in the limo." I'm like, you will go down in infamy, and it would be unbelievable and awesome. But she's way too kind to do that. But yeah, she was supposed to be on there. So it was a Sean Lowe season, if you remember Sean Lowe from back in the day. So she always says that he's the backup, or was the backup. So
I can't believe you've never mentioned that you got the final rose. That's amazing.
I don't know if I never told that. Yeah, I got the final rose. Yeah, she was supposed to go on there as a contestant for, but yeah, she was in a relationship, so she said, "Don't worry about it." But yeah, it's kind of funny.
Cass is like an onion. He just there's so many layers.
So many layers. Two Guys in a Goalie presented by GS.
They're all smelly.
Presented by GS Construction, setting the industry standard for 50 years with quality, efficiency, and safety driving their success. They've built a foundation on teamwork, and now they want you to be part of the team. GSConstruction.ca, or click Ready to Work on their page at Indeed.ca. It is that quiet time of the summer in hockey. Everyone's at their cabins. Everyone's, taking a little bit of time, or cottages, depending where you live, taking their time. So I know Ryan Rishaug yesterday said when it comes to Oilers and Leon Draisaitl, they're just starting to talk. Nothing concrete has happened. Don't expect anything right away, as maybe some people thought it would happen. But with that, so I text you guys a little bit. One thing that we'll discuss today is, let's say I ruled one day, Cass, you're going to be commissioner for the day of the National Hockey League. The next day, Gage, I'm going to label you as commissioner of the day. What would be things you'd want to see changed in the National Hockey League? Cass, I'll start with you.
Well, there could be a number. First thing I would do is change the salary cap rule in the playoffs. That's the first thing. So get rid of being able to load up the cap up and beyond and over top for the playoffs. Even if you give a little extra wiggle room. So I would be open to saying, okay, you can have a 5% additional wiggle room, but your game night roster has to be inside of 5% over the cap.
So game day roster would be your thing. So you could bring in a bunch of people, but it's whoever's starting in that game as you do the cap.
Whoever's starting in that game as you do the cap has to be underneath. And again, because there's latitude with how it works in a season with days played and all that, you want to have a little bit of latitude. So saying give you 5% over top of the cap, 5% over top of the cap, your on-ice roster that you dress that night has to be underneath that.
Okay, the question I would have for that as we try to plan this, is it this year-long cap, or is it the cap hit for the team that season? Because if I trade for someone at the deadline, I only get a portion of that cap hit for the rest of my season. So my game night roster in the playoffs, would it only be that cap hit that I had for the rest of the season, or is it that player's cap hit for this season?
I would say like your cap hit at the rest of the season, like whatever you ended up with actually maybe that's the way you could even do it, is whatever your final cap hit was at the season, that's... Well, actually, no, why wouldn't you do that? I'm just trying to think here, because the cap hit counts less for those guys, and for the trade,
because that's part of it. Like you're close to the cap at the deadline. You could go bring in certain players because you're not taking the whole cap hit. You're only taking that portion of their season.
You're only taking that portion,
and it falls in for the rest of the way. So, but
you just wait it to the portion that they were there for.
So it's what that is for the team, on that team,
right?
What that cap hit would be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that.
Why wouldn't you do it that way?
Yeah.
Well, it's the cap retention that would be a big thing if you're trying to load up. You know, that'd be the thing. Like Thomas Hurdle's cap hit would be a lot smaller with the Golden Knights this year, or it would have been
at the end of this year. But then it could, it adds back on the following year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, that's just where I could see it being a little complex is how you do that, because we could all go to Cap Friendly and look at their cap hits, but is it that full cap hit or whatever their team cap hit would be for this season? That would be
interesting too,
because I think that's one of the reasons why this makes it a little. Because it's been discussed. How do you deal with the complexity of things like that?
Yeah. That would make it interesting because, you know, making trades in that deadline kind of window, you could really, depending on how much is remaining on their cap hit, you could really adjust it accordingly and really load up at the end, right?
Because Thomas Hurdle's cap hit for this season is 6.749999 with the Golden Knights.
Okay.
But last year he didn't play that whole season, you know, with the Golden Knights.
And was injured.
And some of the cap got retained as well on top of that. Yeah. So his cap hit would only be like, what, 1.2 million, let's say, or something like that. So is the cap hit for the Golden Knights that season the 1.2? Or like that's where I think it gets a little dicey of how do you work out.
Well, what about situation? The player going the other way, right? Are you only? I guess.
Well, you're losing that cap hit if you're sending money out the back the other way.
But
we know the NHL will do something on this one day.
Like I'm sitting here thinking, and you're kind of going through that. Like part of me goes back to the still like, no, just set it at the cap. Team cap actuality, what the cap is in actuality. And again, you could give a little bit of an on top of that. So teams have some flexibility inside of that with injuries and with the trade deadline to ensure that teams are doing that. Or even if you went higher than that and you just had a max, right? This is the max. So you gift teams a allotment of you can be X amount over with a combination of injuries and with trades to give that flexibility. So you're not punishing teams that have guys actually that are injured that do come back, but you're still keeping some semblance of not having a team that has a friggin' $118 million cap hit heading into the playoffs, like, which is just ludicrous to me. Some of that's gone on. So I don't know, but that would be something as commissioner that I would certainly, depending, or I guess, however you end up wanting to fix it, that would be something that I would look to fix.
Gager would be the first thing then you do. Then we'll come back to Cass.
Mine's a little bit more on the fantasy side. Cass is closer to reality than it should be looked at. But I would always, every 4 years, just like the Olympics, the playoff format's changed. And you actually have a 1 through 16, where 16 plays 1.
So the fourth year, we're doing 1 through 16. The other 3 years in between, we're just what we have right now. 1 through 16.
Yeah, so you finish President's Trophy plays the lowest ranked team that made the playoffs that year, and it would jumble the whole playoff structure. And I know that people have looked at it, and it doesn't really change too much actually if you simulated the whole thing. But I just think it opens up the possibilities of, you know, let's just say like a Vancouver Edmonton Stanley Cup final, right? It just. Something like that, just to switch it up every once in a while. Something that you would never see on a regular basis.
Would you rebalance it each time? Like so depending on who wins in each of the series, would you like from because you have two divisions,
bracket or reseed?
Like, do you split it into two? Yeah, there you go. That's actually better. Thank you, Maddie. That helps.
Clarified my question. I guess you'd have to bracket the whole thing. And then
because like 1 through 6, like so it'd be like that one bracket of March Madness that you have. So it's 1 through 16. 2 would play 15 at the bottom. If everything works out, it's 1 plays 4, 2 plays 3 in the semis, in the conference finals, if you will.
That's how it is.
So if that was what happened this season, now I would think you'd have to maybe change the schedule format then, because then divisions don't matter and conferences don't matter. And you'd like, do you get an advantage by playing in more games against your division versus others, or do you have to balance it out? But if that was the case, 1, 2, 3,
but it depends on
5,
certain
6,
years. Some
7.
divisions are stronger, anyways, right? So it's not. I don't think that's too big of a deal.
So I've got it here. So the teams that would have made the playoff, or like what we would have had matchups for first round this year, if we did 1 through 16 points. The Rangers would have taken on the Blues. The Stars would have got the Islanders. Hurricanes would have gotten the Golden Knights. Jets would have gotten the Lightning. Panthers would have gotten the Kings. The Canucks would have gotten the Predators. The Bruins would have taken on the Leafs. They still somehow meet. And the Avalanche would have taken on the Oilers.
Oh, jeez.
And then actually, if I'm doing this correct, the Avs Oilers would have taken on Bruins Leafs. Winner of that. That's how it would play out if you did bracketing and things. I love that it still would be the Bruins and the Leafs.
But I just think it'd be 1 year. It would just be. I think it would be really interesting.
I could live with the idea of going to a true 1 through 8. We've never actually seen a true 1 through 8 because the division's got the top 3 and then everything else. I wouldn't mind seeing just even the conferences going 1 through 8.
Do you think they should go back to that?
Well, again, they never did that. It was division winners were 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, right.
Then it was 4 through. Sometimes a 4, maybe even a 5 would be better than 3. I'm saying straight up 1 through 8.
1 through 8. I'd like that too. That could be and that would make more sense if they entered the conference play.
Which what it would have changed is you would have had Stars taking on the Golden Knights in the Western Conference, Jets and Kings, Canucks and Preds, Avs and Oilers would have met.
So.
That's how that would fully play out. So, do you guys think if they expand to 36, the NHL, we're gonna have to see something different, at least with division stuff, and there's gonna be that appetite for the NBA is doing the play-in tournament. The NHL will eventually add a play-in tournament.
If they do, they would have to, wouldn't they?
I don't think you have to.
I think you do.
This season's already so long.
I know.
You add in a play-in tournament.
Well, that's my other one would be lower you said how many preseason games? 8.
There's no way.
I know, but
what lowering? No. Which part? Just the season overall, or preseason even?
Add another 8 preseason games then.
Well, I think you want to know something? If they add in a play-in tournament, maybe there's the ability to lower the preseason.
Yeah.
Where everyone loses to playoff dates, but you're adding at least
2 preseason
games, sorry, and you're adding then the in-season tournament or the play-in tournament. Play-in tournament. It would.
Yeah, you can maybe that's like a healthy compromise. That makes sense to me.
Yeah. Does everyone play 8? Yeah. Is that like the standard?
I think it's 7 to 8.
7 to 8.
Yeah, some teams play 7.
And whether those the Oilers, the Oilers play they think they take on it's the Flames in a split squad game. So 2 games the same night.
Yeah.
Though at least it's like so really you could maybe look at it as 7 days that there's preseason games.
I hate preseason. Jeez.
The Leafs only have 6.
Really?
Yeah. They've got 3 home games and 3 road games. They only have 6. So it must be up to each team to be able to do it.
Like, Cass, when you were going to, your first camp, where was your first camp? Minnesota?
Like, first training camp?
Yeah.
Was in Minnesota, yeah. We had the rookie camp in Traverse City, Michigan.
So when, going to main camp, was there a lot of opportunity? Was there?
Nope.
Or was the roster
Jacques Lemaire, baby?
Oh.
it was set from day one.
Yeah.
There was no we're gonna mix young guys and old guys. It was A group is A group, B group is everybody else. There was not a lot of. There was a little bit. I mean. Guys that were on the fringe, got to skate with the main group. But if you're a young guy, you got to be around for the skates before games at the start of preseason. But it wasn't a lot of opportunity early on.
Yeah, I remember my first Oilers camp. There were 78 players at camp.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was a joke. So there was 2 groups. One group practiced. The other group practiced. The main group practiced first. And then the main group would come after we both practiced and scrimmaged, and then the other 2 groups would scrimmage. The main group was only on once or whatever. But it was a ridiculous amount of players there for 2 spots available, right? It was such a waste of time. With 8 preseason games and looking at the Oilers roster, if there's any year to lower the amount of preseason games. I mean, unless they invite more guys, which I hope they do. I hope the Bakersfield Condors play 7 exhibition games with maybe a few sprinkled in, because, I mean, these guys basically just got off the ice for Game 7. That's just too much. It's too much.
Cass, what else would you look at if you're a commish?
Yep. I don't know if this one will be controversial. I don't know if we'll see. I want to hear what you guys think about this one. But I would like to take one of the officials and move them off ice.
Okay, take one and move them off the ice.
Yeah, move them off the ice. So only 3 officials on the ice. Get rid of. You can just have one linesman. I know you would have to rework the way they do lines, or you have 2 linesmen, one head official, and then the other official off ice, watching on camera.
What about the idea of keeping the 4 and just adding the off ice?
Nope.
Why not?
Get rid of an extra body. You want more
body?
offense? You want space? How many times do we see the ref trying to jump out of the way and players and pucks hitting the ref and officials being in the way? And that's not, they do their best. They're not trying to be in the way, but just the nature of their position, what they do is they are in the way. They create space. They limit opportunity in the offensive zone in particular with that official down low. So I am 100% for taking that official and moving it off ice, having it be via video, have the other official with an earpiece in, that you can communicate with constantly, that you can talk with constantly, have all the officials have that earpiece. That would be something that I would seriously look at doing.
Hockey used to have.
And I go back to my grandpa has been saying that for years and years and years. Back, especially in the clutch and grab area, he's like, "Well, you want more offense? Get one of the officials off the ice." And that's a fair point from a space standpoint.
Always been 2 refs, 2 linesmen?
No.
In the NHL, no. It
was 1 ref.
It was 1 ref
Yep.
and 2 linesmen.
Mm-hmm. But you could get away with a lot. I mean, but now there's cameras everywhere, so there could be repercussions if you do something stupid. Maybe the ref on the ice misses it, but if it's, I don't know. This is what I want to get to is the Department of Safety. I think the punishment or suspensions should all be streamlined, right? Distinct of what a suspension is and what a fine is. That should be black and white as far as I'm concerned, because anything that happens during the regular season, every time we're like, well, what is that? Is that a $5,000 fine? Is that 3 games? Is it 1 game? Is it 20 games? No one knows. And just to have a clear cut of what a suspension is and what a fine is, I think is going to just get rid of that whole ridiculousness of when a player does something vicious, and it'll protect the players too. Like it's stupid that they something that looks exactly the same, regardless of the time of year, should be the same penalty for the players.
I'm big on the off ice official. I think it's just with the technology where it is. If there's going to be a bad penalty call, that official could reverse it. Or if there's a missed penalty call, they could put it back.
They can call it. Yep.
And, that I'm all for that. I had never thought about taking a ref off for it, though. I always thought you add maybe a 5th ref, but I did that offensive part. I get that offensive part where if you take a body off, does it open up just a little bit more room?
For sure.
I think it does, especially in if you have the off-ice official whose primary responsibility, if they have 3 cameras in front of them, and in the offensive zone, the 3 cameras in front of them are all looking around the net. The second the puck goes around the net, they can look around that and get a live view of the goal line, of the net, being able to blow stuff down. It's like, just think of how much better it is than having, one ref spinning out of corners and trying, like, it just creates so much more space to me. So I get if you would just move to it, adding an on-ice official, but realistically, you don't need 4 of them on the ice anymore. There's no big brawls really anymore, almost ever.
And the ref can't even do anything at that point, right?
Yeah.
And
that's the linesman.
do anything.
That's where you keep 2 linesmen then and take the ref off.
That's where you keep 2 linesmen and get the ref off. And even in that, I think there's no problem in giving linesmen additional officiating duties and powers, right? Like to be able to call things or blow whistles down around the net and that sort of thing. So I know you want to have a clear order of authority just to make sure that. But
I could add if they all have earpieces and they're in communication the entire game too, a linesman could see something and be like whistle or something, and then the ref could go blow it. Still.
Yeah,
like you would have that communication where you go like pucks should be frozen here or something, and a split decision.
Yeah,
already at this point, linesmen anything close to offside, they're letting go. Right, they're not making.
They're letting
call
go because they know the camera's going to take it, which they should, which is the right call, I think, to do.
It's easier to take away. You can't add it.
Yeah. But what do you think about video replay casts? Like, I think we were talking about how I don't like the offsides. Even Connor McDavid said, I don't think you should be able to like stop, zoom in, zoom out. I think it should be at a speed that you can see. You think game speed or just slow down a little bit?
Game speed.
I agree with game
speed.
Yeah.
You get
game speed.
No zooming.
You can challenge it. Right. Watch it at game speed. You can look at it multiple angles. You can look at it from up above. You can look at it from, because that eliminates, like, the whole purpose and the spirit of the rule is to not gain an unnecessary advantage, like attacking on offense.
It was the Matt Duchene offside.
Right. And if we look at that, we go, okay, the Matt Duchene offside where he was like 4 feet in zone, you see that at full speed easily.
Yeah.
Right. But like the centimeter of that is like, okay, well, you were, again, at game speed, and you'll see it. If you watch a video 2 times, if someone's a foot offside or well offside, you're going to be able to see it. But if it's like fractional, like where you can't tell, or even if you could pull it down to like 75% speed or something, but it's like I don't like the having to stop and slow down for fractions of a centimeter when it's like that. Just doesn't, it's not violating the spirit of the rule.
No.
One quick heads up: Summer McIntosh about to swim for her second gold medal, so I'll keep you guys posted on it. This is the 200-meter butterfly, so she's about to jump in. Like I would put a time limit on how long you have to review it. Like you get 2 minutes to look at it. I would do game speed, maybe again at 0.9 speed or something, like as close to it as possible. And there's no zoom in, no zoom out, because the offside review, it only takes goals off the board. It can't add a goal.
Yeah.
Right? Like we don't have. It's impossible to do that. So, when you're looking at that, I do stand by that the Cale Makar play was, by the letter of the rule, correct call by the NHL. But when you're having to zoom in and we're breaking it down by frame second and things like that, what are we doing here at that point? That's not why replay was brought in.
No.
But when you do go to replay, you kind of have to do black and white. Is this letter of the law? So that's where we need to roll it back and go, no, you just get these camera shots. You got to watch it in the split second. Do you see offside? Do you not see offside?
No.
Yeah, and and like you said, it's to take away goals and not put them on the board. And I still get having frame by frame for, did the puck cross the goal line? I have no problem with that one. To say, to make sure the puck crossed the goal line.
That's a zoom.
That could also add a goal.
Whatsoever.
Those could add goals.
Yeah, that's a zoom.
Those add goals,
I don't mind on that.
I don't mind on that too, but the offside's the one there. Yeah, which I'd be fine with revamping of that rule. I still think it's good to have the ability to be able to challenge it, like if stuff is offside, but it just has to be actually offside, and it has to be enough offside to make a difference. And also, one other thing with that is I would say a time cap after the offside.
Yeah.
Right? Like
not till the next whistle?
No, not even to the next. No. Like what I mean.
No, I know. You have 30 seconds after they gain the entry to challenge.
Even.
Okay, but that
15 seconds.
You have to throw a flag on the ice.
No. I mean after. So if they score.
Oh, okay.
Basically, if they score and it's 15 plus seconds after that offside, doesn't matter. Because clearly that offside wasn't directly involved in that play, right? So I mean, let's say you thought it was offside, the puck gets chipped in, or if there's a change in possession after the purported offside. So if your team touches the puck and has an opportunity to make a play, then that wipes it as well.
So
right? Just
full blown whistle on delayed penalty kind of thing, like a guy shooting the puck in the corner. How are you distinguishing? Change of possession.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You could just have a time cap on it too, right? But change of possession would be just touching the puck, not a save, like goaltending, penalty killing. Kind of like you said, if your team touches the puck with possession, you can't go back and challenge for offside if the other team scores.
I like that. It's just
the puck still stays in zone. Because think of how many times it has happened. Yeah, no, generally it's not. It's usually the other team maintains possession, which I said put a time cap, because it's like, okay, if it's been 15 or 20 seconds since the offside, which happens sometimes, and like, oh, they're going to go back and challenge that play to see if it was offside 15 seconds ago. You're like, this is ridiculous.
By the way, Summer McIntosh, she's golden again.
Really?
Sets an Olympic record as
Good
well.
for her.
She set an Olympic record. The 17-year-old now with two gold medals for Canada at these Olympics.
Amazing.
That is amazing.
The 200-meter butterfly. Summer McIntosh golden yet again. So
I don't know about the time cap, Cass.
of like how long? Like we're talking about in real time.
what?
Like in
You're supposed
real
to,
time.
like-
We're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that.
So like,
I don't.
you're telling me like, let's see.
If
Oh,
it was
go
so
ahead, Matt.
egregious, you should know. And you should be able to challenge it right away. You shouldn't have like 40 seconds of game time and then the whistle happens and then an additional, what do the refs give them? 30, 40 seconds more to get your video coach to keep reviewing it.
So if it's like,
Give me a challenge flag. You got to throw your flag.
give me an
up.
example, Cass. So I'm thinking, so it's offside, like,
Yep.
but minuscule, and then 15 seconds pass in the offensive zone and they score.
Yep.
It's not considered
You shouldn't be able to
you
challenge
shouldn't be able to challenge.
Yeah, because 15 seconds, even if the other team has possession for 15 seconds in the offensive zone, you want to tell me that offside is still factoring into you not being able to play proper defense, you still having guys out of position. Like, you want to tell me that there hasn't been 3 other mistakes that your team has made to not force a turnover? Like, it just, to me, it's like, okay, at what point do you have, how far back can you challenge?
But what if it's like a 4-on-0 and a really bad line change? I'm kidding.
Well, then you should be scoring in the first 15 seconds.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Like 15 seconds is plenty of time for people to get back into the zone and adjust and play defense and force a turnover. Like I just think, and I'm just saying 15 seconds, maybe the number would be different than that, but I'm just like, there has to be something where it's like, okay, we have to set some parameters around this, and the game speed parameter is one. And I think a time parameters too, because it's like, how annoying is it when it's like, oh, we got to add 40 seconds back on the clock because there was an offside 40 seconds ago that they then scored on, but now we're taking that goal away for a minuscule little thing that we spent 5 minutes reviewing, and it happened 40 seconds before the goal was scored. I just want some parameters around that bad boy.
Any other rule changes you guys would make before we move on from this? Is there anything else or is that you
Player
guys would
sticks
be happy?
back to wood. None of this.
That'd be great.
And bigger goalie equipment.
Really?
No.
Really?
I'd actually. I like the fact that goalie equipment is getting a little bit smaller, as long as they're protected.
That's
all.
the most important thing. As long as there's no risk of injury of like too little protection.
I to tell you the truth, I would love seeing goalies, not player size, obviously, maybe a little bit bigger, but if they were protected properly with really streamlined equipment, I think that would be fantastic. Because I really think the equipment has hindered goaltending over the last 10 years. It's just gotten so good and so protective that there's more blockers than guys that actually make saves.
Well, but it isn't. I'm confused here, Gager. Isn't like blocking what goalies are supposed to do to make saves? Don't you block the puck from going in the net?
The game has gotten to a level where, positioning and blocking is part of it, Cass. Yeah, but I when I look at young goalies, this isn't so much maybe the NHL level, but young goalies they're just they're getting to a spot and getting into a butterfly and hoping it hits them, right? I think there is an element of the game where you have to make saves and be a little bit more active. I find it more enjoyable to watch. Maybe it's just me, but and the way that the guys shoot, the sticks are part of it. The goalies don't have time to react to something happening that quick, and you do have to, make yourself big and get into good position. But I don't know. I just think I'm from an era where there was a lot more activity in net, right? And I do think a hybrid of both are the most enjoyable goaltenders to watch. You look at you'd say the top 4 or 5 goalies in the league. They're really sound positionally, are blockers to an extent, but also have the ability to make, take goals away with spectacular saves.
This is Two Guys and a Goalie live on EdmontonSportsTalk.com, your clear choice for Edmonton sports, presented by GS Construction. And can I use this? I did use that machine properly. It's time for Hire It or Fire It, brought to you by GS Construction, who are hiring now. Become a part of their great team today by visiting gsconstruction.ca or their page on Indeed.ca. For the past 50 years, the foundation of GS Construction has been built on efficiency, quality, and safety. Take your career to the next level. Join the team, GS Construction. Today, hire it or fire it. We'll start. So we are expecting a Leon contract to be signed. Initially, it would have been like $14 million. Some people thought. Now it seems like maybe it'll come in under $14 million. Bouchard's going to need a new contract. McDavid's going to need a new contract over the next while. That might be $40 million tied up into those 3 guys. Is that a concern? Or that's not a concern for the Oilers cap-wise moving forward, having $40 million tied up into 3 guys hired or fired.
Is it a concern? I would fire it. I think when we look out east at the Leafs with their big 4 and all the money tied up in those guys, but what Leon and Connor and now even Evan Bouchard, they've proven that at the most crucial times of the year, their level of play is raised. I would take that 3 over those 4 any day of the week. So that's kind of I think that's the comparison that pops to my mind first. And having that, I think you can still build around, and they've almost done it this year. You're going to have guys that are going to possibly, there's just not enough available for them to take coming to Edmonton, but there will be the chance to further their careers or win a cup and cash in at the later date. So, I'm going to fire it.
Yes.
Is hiring it's a problem?
Yes.
Yes. We'll go with that.
Okay, I'm hiring it. I think it is a problem.
To have that much tied up between those 3?
Oh, yeah. How's it not? You don't have money anywhere else. Now, they've done a good job. If you can keep, at least for the next couple of years, is Stuart Skinner's not on a huge deal. Your goaltending combo is at right around $4 million, I think, just a shade over. And, I think teams get in trouble when goaltending is over roughly 10% of the cap. Like if it exceeds the 10% of the cap, I think goaltending becomes an issue. Having too much money for most teams tied up in that. Not all the time, but it just does create more challenges. But having that much tied up in those guys, yeah, it does. It creates huge challenges.
The reason I would say it doesn't as much is by the time Connor's contract kicks in, the cap's going to be like $100 million.
Yeah,
so you still have $60 million for the rest, and then that's only the start of the 3 contracts being combined. As you move forward, the cap slowly comes up.
Is going to get more expensive. Is going to get more expensive too. So it's like, it's not like the end of the world, and you're getting some of the best players in the world. But it's a lot. It's a lot. It's just a lot of money tied up in a couple guys.
Jonathan Wheatley leaving Red Bull. Red Bull's in trouble. Hire it or fire it with him gone.
Hire it. The rats are leaving the sinking ship here. There's Newey's out. Now we got other huge personnel are leaving Red Bull. That seat at Mercedes might be looking a lot more appealing to Max Verstappen come the end of the year.
Yes. I don't know if you've seen this.
They're fine.
They're fine. Okay.
They're fine. They're fine.
You think that they're just fine? Because I don't know. The season's becoming a little closer than I think anyone would have expected this season. You have all these people leaving. Was all the drama at the start of the year with Red Bull. it seems like Red Bull's is starting to drop here, and they're not going to be as dominant.
What's really weird is that, I mean, Horner said he finalized the thing. Checo's there for the rest of the year. Ricardo stays where he is if he was going to get that seat or not. So trying to kind of, squash the rumors around the team, but then this drops too. So, I mean, this is the time of year where people move around anyways. But I think this whole infighting at the start and what happened with Christian Horner at the beginning, Jos Verstappen, I think it's just chaos in there. You can, they do a good job on TV of showing it, but it does look like there's friction between the two. There's they used to look at each other. Now they're like right beside each other. And I don't know how Max's dad is allowed in there too. Like I know family's allowed, but he's like on the boards and looking at stuff. That's
because are you going to go tell him and his dad that they can't do it?
Well, yeah, I am.
And then Max says, I'm going to Mercedes.
Well, they can deal with it. Toto wouldn't allow that.
Of course he would.
I know he would.
One of the things that came up in our reality discussion on the Hangout today was amazing race teams. And one of the pairings was you, Cass, and Gager together. Hired or fired, you guys would be a good pairing on a show like Amazing Race together.
I'd hire it. I think I think we'd be fine. We have, somewhat analytical minds that could. I think we would work well together. I mean, we've been doing this we hate each other and we do this, right, Kat?
Exactly. We find a way. No, I hire it. We'd be fine. Okay. Yeah, we'd be fine.
Okay, who wins then? Because we had the Team EST. So here was the groupings that we had. We had Dusty and Eric. We had Tommy and Trev. We had myself and Jasmine, who's now going to be part of the Hangout. We got you and Gager. We had Zach and Murray McCourt. And we had Reed and Jay. Reed Wilkins, Jay Milne. Who is the favorite and who is the worst?
I think Dusty and Eric won't survive.
Yeah.
and now, why do you think that?
Have you? Well,
I'm just curious of what you would think is why that wouldn't work.
You want to tell me you put Dusty and Eric and like, hey, here's a mission, here's a race, you have to sort this stuff out, and it's a race, and they're gonna win that thing?
Well, I'm putting it on Dusty. I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like this is
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. That's where like
this. I'm not. This isn't a reflection of Eric. Eric is resourceful. He will get through it. Yeah. Dusty's. He's gonna. They're presenting like maybe a challenge with like you have to eat weird food or like a bug or something.
Exactly
it's
what
like
we went with.
He's done.
He's
gone.
Cass, it doesn't even have to be a bug. It could be
a tomato.
Like
tomato.
I was going to say fish, but you're right. It could be just a vegetable.
It would be a tomato on there, and he'd be stuck there for 2 weeks.
I really want to see him have like. That's almost like a sideshow we need because I think Trev also doesn't have the most expanded palette where we go like once a week and go, boys, here's the thing to try this week.
You just go to the Italian.
Make them do some ramen. Make them do different ethnic foods.
I also want Tommy to have to cook it for them since Tommy doesn't cook. Oh my
gosh, yeah.
So we teach Tommy how to cook
there you go.
in the first half of it, and the second half is Dusty and Trev have to be the guys to taste it and judge it.
I'd like to go in Tommy's apartment and fry fish. Just he would
just to see.
He's never done a grilled cheese sandwich.
Yeah, it's pristine. His.
I mean, that's not really cooking, but
I know,
okay.
but like when you start cooking as a younger person, like one of the things you first is a grilled cheese. He's never
grilled cheese sandwich.
He's never cooked a grilled cheese sandwich, he says, in his life.
See, that's odd, like being Italian too. Like Italian, the culture of food and family is so strong.
Well, you think he'd have done like a panini, like a grilled cheese panini or something.
Something like that. Like
on a press.
I was seeing an Anthony Bourdain kind of little snippet where he says if you can't just make a basic item for people, for your friends, for your loved one, for, you know, it's a detriment to your life not being able to he's
The
not
most
talking,
basic stuff.
the most basic
That's what
thing,
I go
you
with.
know? Yeah.
You should be able to, I think, like a chicken's easy to cook, a chicken breast. Easy to get done. You can do it in many different ways. It's quite simple. You just really need salt and pepper.
Yeah.
I think cooking spaghetti. Not even making it fresh spaghetti, just getting a box of spaghetti and cooking that. And maybe like rice.
Yeah.
Get a rice cooker. You're
Yeah.
good to go.
Pressing a button.
I don't know what else you really need to just be able to cook for
I mean,
someone else. Not in a
To me, cooking is so easy because it's like with the prevalence of Google, you don't even need to own a cookbook.
No.
Yeah.
Like there's videos that show you how to do things
Just watch YouTube.
and just do what they show you on the video. Right? Like and generally you're going to be fine. And yeah, maybe once or twice you overcook something, you don't do it quite right because there's some technique to it and you learn. But like, yeah, I mean, I can think of legitimately, I've had one meal that I have made in the last number of years where I'm just like, that wasn't very good. And that was because I missed this. I was trying something different, a different technique. It's called velveting. It's like an Asian technique to make meat tender. And I was trying to do it, and I missed a step where you're supposed to wash. You use basically baking soda to tenderize, and I didn't realize you were supposed to wash it off the meat. So I didn't wash it off the meat before I cooked it, so it just tasted horrible. But it's like you just start doing it. Anyways, it's super easy. Super easy.
It's also just
Just
fun.
start doing
It's
it.
fun.
Cooking's
And
great.
it is fun.
Yeah.
Depending what it is,
It's great.
You open up a bottle of bottle of beer, crack open a beer,
Yeah.
pour a glass of wine or something. Throw some music on.
And I
That's
get
wonderful.
it if you're like just for yourself and you're not wanting to go all fancy, great. And you don't even
But you don't even have to
go
be
all
that
fancy if you have.
fancy.
No, I said you don't have to be fancy, but just as you guys said, having some basic skills. Actually, no, there's an NHL thing. Is more and more teams are starting that I've started to hear from some people for the young guys in the AHL. They're starting to do like monthly cooking classes and stuff,
Well,
which
that
I
makes
think is a
sense.
great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is fantastic. So I've been pretty happy that they've started to do that. Where I'm like, yeah, give these kids some life skills. That's great.
Do these kids get like meal ideas or something, or do they have to figure out what to eat on their own? Or
Oh, you got to figure out
You
on your
do?
own. Now, depending on the team, like there's some teams that will provide breakfast and lunch every single day,
Okay.
depending on the team and depending on the NHL organization and the AHL organization and where they are and basically how much money they make. There's some that provide will pay for breakfast and lunch every day. There's some that won't. And, when I go back to my day and playing in Houston, you just got to figure it out. Figure it out yourself. Yeah.
The best was when I played in Sweden, in Stockholm. So we'd have lunch after every practice, every day. It was like going to the IKEA cafeteria every time. Like, meet all the Swedish delights, meat, fish, chicken, meatballs. I ate so many. And you don't get as much lingonberry sauce or gravy. You could just pile that stuff on it. I couldn't wait for lunch every day. That was great.
That will be it for Two Guys and a Goalie on this Thursday. You boys, it's myself again next week on Tuesday and Thursday as Dusty's going to be calling Hlinka Gretzky. I've submitted for your pass there, Cass, so I don't know if you get an email or if you got an email or something like that, but it was submitted for you. But yeah, we'll find a couple more topics to get to next week.
Maybe something will happen.
Maybe something will happen. Maybe Max Verstappen will be announced at Mercedes, and we'll have that to discuss. Thanks to everyone for tuning in to Two Guys and a Goalie, presented by GS Construction. Up next on our audio stream, it is a replay of the Nielsen Show. On behalf of Cass, Gage, or Iwanyk, thanks for tuning in, and enjoy the rest of your Thursday.